is they've probably got a nose full of this lion that's here somewhere. I'm hoping that they entice this cat to come out of cover wherever it is. And as a second prize, I'd be quite happy if the zebra came and drank for you, which they probably would do. The herd stallion walking up to us. And we'll keep you posted. I don't want to take you away for too long from that young buffalo calf. We'll be here when you get back.
Here we go. Little one taking its first fumbling steps. Mom is up and baby is on its way to getting its first meal. Oh, watch out, little one. The world is full of obstacles, and that includes getting dung on your nose. Here we go. Oopsie, watch your head. Incoming. Well done, girl. It's a shame. Scared now after that moment with the buffalo bull. Oopsie. Oopsie, nearly there. This cow is not in as bad a condition as I thought. She's actually quite healthy, but she certainly doesn't look like she just gave birth. I wonder at what's happened here. Let's just watch how this, before I speak. Mom. I'll just try and get a view of her nipples, but she's blocked them for now. But she doesn't seem interested at all in paying any attention to that baby. Oh no. Brian, that buffalo at the back, has it moved at all while we've been watching?
I don't think so.
Oh, there she is. Oh, there's Mom. That's Mom. That's not Mom. Mom is at the back there, and she's still, her placenta's still sticking out. It's very difficult for you to see, but she hasn't finished fully. Okay, so that's not Mom that just got up. Mom is at the back, and Mom, I think, is struggling. And now the buffalo bull sits between the calf and its mom. And that little calf was lying next to that female, obviously for warmth and comfort. But I think we have a very upsetting scene on our hands here. Because I don't know. Oh, it's just an oxpecker. It's just an oxpecker, little one. Oh, you'll have to get used to them. It's okay. Oh, shame. Oh, this is utterly heartbreaking. And this is where every part of you wants to scream, to sort of run towards it and scoop it up and warm it up and try and get it some food. But obviously it's not something that we can do. We absolutely can't interfere in this. But I promise you, I really wish we could. Oh, sweetheart. Come on, Mom. Alright, what I'm going to do, the calf is not going to go anywhere. I'm going to go forward a bit so you can see what I mean about the female. I don't really want to scare this little calf though while it's trying to wobble. Oh no. Come on, go away. Yes, that's it. Go away. Bye-bye, boy. Little one, go now. You've got the chance. Not that way, that's not Mom. Mom's behind you. There's another thing that sometimes happens with buffalo, and I've described it before. I've never seen it in the larger herds, but I have heard that it can happen. There's something known as pregnancy hysteria. There's a reason that the females, when they go into labor, that they try and move away from the rest of the herd, And that's because the animals get confused by the scent of her going into labor, the hormones that are spiking, and they get overexcited. And I've seen it before where the females start to headbutt and to kick a female that's going into labor. The males start to try and mount her. They all get very, very confused. And there was a very dramatic situation that I was involved in about 2 years ago with a buffalo calf in a similar situation. And I wonder if that didn't happen to this female. There must be a reason why. So the afterbirth is still protruding. I don't really want to scare this baby now that it's standing up without any protection. So we're not actually going to move. Although you can't see it, it's behind the tree. I don't think she's fully delivered the placenta yet. And she's just run out of energy. She's missing a horn. She's had a very difficult time of things, I think. Come on, little one. That's a boy. Don't go there. Please don't go there again. Okay. All right, you've learnt your lesson. There you go. There's Mom. Come on, Mom. Whoopsie. Urinating again. Very common within the first few hours of birth. But it's going to need a drink soon. And AJ, yes, the baby would urinate still, even if it hadn't eaten yet. And the reason is, of course, it's now being kicked into its organs are being kicked into fully functioning mode. So the kidneys are starting to work to get rid of all of the waste, and the moisture or the water that was provided by the mother's body in utero through the placenta is now being excreted in the traditional fashion. So yes, it's very common for babies to urinate when they're first born, and also their initial defecation, which is interesting because obviously they don't eat within the womb itself, but they are being provided with nutrients and with waste material. And that meconium, the first time that a baby defecates in its life, is usually almost immediately after birth. So this baby probably already has. Come on, little one, there you go. Oh, you're so close. You're so close. Come on, keep going. Oh, little tottering steps. A swift headbutt by that male probably didn't help. There you go. Hey, Mom. That's yours. You've got to start giving it some attention. She's ruminating at least, so she's okay. But she probably is desperate for the nutrients after the labor process. Come on, little one. Yes, there you go. Go on, go remind her that you're there. That's it, that's it. Yes, Mum, there you go, that's yours. Well, that was a little bit half-hearted. I think she is just exhausted, and I don't think the birthing process is fully completed yet. Well, Sean, you're wondering sort of roughly how much a baby buffalo weighs at birth, and having picked one up before, it's sort of close to the region of about 30 kilograms at birth. So the baby that I was speaking about earlier, that we watched the female getting attacked by the rest of the herd, we ended up having to save her baby, and it was a different situation because it was a closed system. And they were buffalo that were disease-free, so a different story completely. But when we went and picked up little buffalo that was then named Patsy, of all the ridiculous names, but Patsy Probably weighed about 30 kilograms, so just over 60 pounds at birth. Quite heavy, solid little creatures, surprisingly. There you go, Mom. Shame. There you go. Meet your new friends. They're going to be with you for the rest of your life. Those oxpeckers. And gag, you were wondering why the oxpeckers are landing on the calf, what they're hoping to find while they do that. And the answer is, first of all, the babies pick up ticks very quickly. But most importantly, as you know, with their tick-based diet, oopsie, speed wobble, they are attracted to blood and mucus as well. So we often talk about the fact that they will make injuries worse on an animal because they peck and they worry at it constantly. And they might be attracted to the smell of the dried fluids on the calf. But obviously the calf not yet comfortable enough to let them settle. Come on, Mom. I'm really hoping I'm wrong, but I'm not entirely sure this is going to be a story with a happy ending. But we'll see. These animals are incredibly resilient. And hopefully Mom gets up now to feed the little one. Hopefully that instinct is triggered. And while we wait and see how the situation plays out and what Mom decides to do or how she responds, let's head across to James, who is on foot.
We've come into this area because we heard what sounded like a warthog screaming, like a pig squealing. You've all heard recordings of that. You may have even heard it live. But that's what we heard. And then we heard a kudu alarm calling, and Wiem and I came walking up here. Herbie is busy at the south tracking Karula. And we haven't seen anything. Now, we've been wandering about here for the last 10 or 15 minutes while you've been seeing what is an amazing scene unfolding there with a buffalo calf. So just come with me. We're going to walk fairly slowly and just check the termite mounds into that big tree. You see the big tree over there? It's a big marula tree. And, I mean, there are a couple of possibilities here. If this warthog has been killed, it's most likely a male leopard or a lion that's had a go at it. And if there was a kudu alarm calling, there must be a predator of some sort in here, or at the very least the smell of a predator. We're going to check the wind, and I mean that's for us is a little bit superfluous because I can feel it's coming from there. But just so that you get an idea of where it's going. This is unbelievable. Herbert has managed to find us. But check the wind there. The wind is not great for us. You see I've got ash in my sock here. So I'm just going to quickly explain to Herbert what we heard. Herbie, we heard what sounded like a warthog being killed, going quack, quack, horrible sound, and then we heard a kudu alarm call. So we just came through here, but I haven't found any tracks. So I don't know what you think. Yeah, sound like it was coming from right here. Yeah. So we'll have a look very slowly around. We're going to go towards the tree, like I say, and the termite mound there. Maybe we'll come up with something. Now we've got some proper eyes with us, with Herbert, so, and some proper ears, of course, as well. So we might be lucky. We'll walk very slowly through here. Don't know, I mean, it could have just been maybe two warthogs having a fight. It may have just been the smell of a predator on the air that made the kudu go, bah, bah. Oh, there's a francolin. Now, whenever you're wandering about the bush here, hoping to find a predator or something like that, every time a francolin goes scuttling off underneath the bush, you're apt to throw your stick at it, just in case. So, Wiem, of course, is now very much stuck in the bush. So if he falls behind at all, that's why. He's just negotiating that very large aerial of his through the bushes. Haven't found any predator tracks, haven't found any warthog tracks either. Let's go up onto the top of this mound here and see if we can see anything. The wind is also blowing, which does mean that the sound probably came from further away than we think it did, because it did come from where the wind is blowing from. Anyway, we're not going to spend too long sort of looking around here for whatever it was. We just thought we'd come and have a quick investigation. But it's so nice that in this area where there's such gentle undulating topography, you just gain a little bit of height like this and suddenly you've got a view of the world, which is rather fantastic. I'm just going to quickly do a scan around here, and then we'll do a brief walk down through this area and see if we can't find anything else. In the meantime, let's go back to that rather amazing episode playing out with the buffalo.
An incredible episode playing out is on momentary hiatus. The little one's decided that if Mom's not going to feed it, then it's not going to waste any more energy trying to wobble around. And Mom's just kind of ruminating. There don't appear to be any more contractions to get rid of the placenta. I don't know exactly what's happening with her, if she's just exhausted herself. But this calf is going to need to feed soon. It really is, for the antelope species and for the bovids like the buffalo, it's absolutely critical that those little ones get the nourishment that they need in the first few hours of life. You can imagine, they stand within such a short space of time. They're using their energy in such a short space of time. And already, in its short little lifespan on this earth, it's been thrown into the air by a buffalo bull. I was actually really concerned that buffalo bull was going to take it further, but thank goodness it didn't. It's had oxpeckers, strange alien birds, landing on its skin. And now it's completely terrified of the adults of its kind, including its mom, which is why the calf hasn't found itself tucked up closer to her, where at least it could be sheltered a little bit from this cold wind that's blowing. And there we go, the other females come back to investigate. We saw how the calf tottered after her earlier and was lying with her. Now, Shamsun, you were wondering, would another female in the herd suckle the calf? The answer is no. To the best of my knowledge and to the best of my observations, a female will never suckle another female's calf. However, nature is a funny thing, and you can never really say never. It's never been recorded, though, as far as I know. And I've seen buffalo calves, when they've got confused, they've gone up to the wrong mother. We see it with zebra foals as well. Go up to the wrong mother and are given a harsh kick to pay for their mistake. Look, already sort of used to the sensation of the oxpeckers, and the oxpeckers now doing what Mom should have done from the beginning, which is cleaning off the muck on this little buffalo's fur. And while we wait desperately, oh, not on my face, bird. I've only just been born. Give me a break. Yes, Mom, there you go. Remember that? Yes, that's yours. Come on, girl. Come on. Pay it some attention. Now, Aqua, you were wondering how long this calf will last without its first drink of colostrum. A couple of hours at the most. first of all, the fact that the mom is still lying in the evidence of the birth means that the smell will at some point attract predators, or could well attract predators. And if mom is as lackluster as she is right now, this little baby won't stand a chance if a lion or even a leopard or a hyena group comes wandering through. So it does have a couple of hours. The one that I was telling you the story about, the little calf called Patsy, she lasted for about 12 hours before we rescued her, at which point she was very, very weak. She needed a drip. Patsy was an interesting character. Patsy, by the way, has now been released back into the herd. It is a fenced herd of disease-free buffalo, so it doesn't face the same threats that our wild buffalo do. It's not a wild group of buffalo. But Patsy grew up with 2 sheep. So she thinks she's a sheep and has only just been introduced to the idea that she is in fact a buffalo, but she's made it to adulthood. This little one, unfortunately, is not quite going to have the same experience. Well, we watch this situation play out and hope to goodness that Mom gets up soon. Let's head back across to Steph, who has found the biggest bird in the entire world.
There we have some ostrich for you. These cheetah plains at the moment are just actually bubbling with animals at the moment, and by far the nicest to have a look at, because we don't see them as often, are these ostrich. It's a flock of ostrich. I'm actually not too sure what the collective name of a flock of ostrich is. Do you know that? No, Dave doesn't know either, but we've got some here. The brown ones being the females and youngsters, and the darker black one with the white feathers, he's on the right hand side, there we go. He's the male. Now, quite easy to see whether or not there's breeding season. The males get bright pink legs, and he has very obviously got white legs and not pink, and so definitely not breeding right now. But isn't it wonderful that you're looking at the largest living bird on the planet, and also currently, although not always has it been so, the producer of the largest single cell on the planet, the ostrich egg, which they will deposit in a scrape in the ground, a couple of them at a time, strong enough to support the weight of myself standing on top of it, and protected by both sexes, the female during the daytime with her drab coloration, and the male at night time with his black feathers. You sometimes see males sitting on nests during the day, but it's uncommon. Generally speaking, the males feed in the day. They eat almost entirely grass and vegetation, and the females will feed at night time when the male is sitting on the eggs. Once widespread throughout South Africa, now unfortunately confined mainly to the drier parts of the country, and Kruger National Park and Namibia and the Northern Cape, their numbers have drastically declined in wild populations, not just. Ooh. Sorry, Justin, I didn't quite catch your question there. I'd love to try and answer it. We're very far away from Cheetah Plains at the moment. I mean, from... how fast can an ostrich run was the question there, Justin. Sorry, excuse me breaking up speaking to you. So an ostrich, as far as I know, can reach between 60 and 70 kilometers per hour. So what is that in miles? It's probably about 45 miles an hour. Relatively fast. And they can maintain that speed for quite some distance. They've gotten a very effective run. Definitely outrun lion. However, I must be honest with you, the few ostriches that I've seen in the Sabi Sands that are not on these types of plains get turned into feather dusters by lions very quickly. We've got this procession of zebra walking across us at the moment. I'll just come and show you. Have a look at that. Some ostrich in the background and some zebra in the foreground. It's just such a nice setting. The wind is blowing quite hard today, or it's quite a stiff breeze is blowing, I should say. And that just gives you the impression that these plains are pretty endless. The first time I've actually been here to these plains, and I must say I'm fairly impressed with them. And we've just got columns of zebra pouring out of the bush here. I'll show you down. If you swing off to the left here, Dave, you'll see that past this wildebeest over my bald head is right there. We've got way off in the distance on that hilltop there. We've got many more zebra coming through there. Have a look at that. That's probably about a mile or two away from us. No, not that far. Probably about a mile away from us at the moment. And they'd be making their way to water. They are drought resistant, but they will drink every day, these zebra. And it's funny, you know, they generally drink during the day and will walk back to feeding areas during the night time. But I've seen, in particular in Etosha, in northern Namibia, I've seen zebra drinking at pans the entire night through. So I think it's more food dependent, and the distance that they have to walk between where they're feeding and where the water is. I think that is the key here. Many, many zebra. They're coming at us over the pan, walking on game paths. And these game paths radiate out from water points out into the bush. Oh, that's a nice view. And here we have a lone wildebeest bull. So Anna Marie has just asked, and back to the ostrich, and back to some ostrich questions. Anna Marie has just asked if the ostrich is related to the Australian emu. Anna Marie, I'm sure that at some point they share a common ancestor, but although they look fairly similar, they have that Franklin upright ostrich emu-y posture, for lack of a better comparison. I don't think so. A couple of thousand years ago, a couple of 100,000 years ago, a couple of million years ago, about 180 million years ago in actual fact, Australia and South Africa and India and Antarctica were joined together in a supercontinent. And you'll probably find that if you go back in the ancestry of these birds, there was a split at around about the time that this supercontinent split up. And that started to happen roughly about 180 million years ago. And it was at that point that they split off. And I'm almost certain that probably while they are related to one another, it was a good couple of 100 million years ago rather than more recently. I've just noticed that Timmins Corsa, I think. I'm going to see if we can get to it, Dave. So where my finger is, between us and this road here, is a ground-living bird that's just running. So if you come in from the ostrich, basically to just between us over here, there we go. We've got a Corsa here. Oh, they're relatively rare. There we go. There's a pair of them. And they're actually fairly rare birds, to be quite honest with you. There we go, pecking at some grass. And there's it looks like a chick or a female. Wow, I've never seen both of them together, to be quite honest. I'm actually going to have to page through my reference book to try and figure out if that's a male or a female. So bear with me here for a second while I just quickly double check. We see these birds so infrequently. One page, 126 of my manual. Luckily I get to cheat a little bit by bringing with... Ooh, go forward here. So definitely not the Senegal lapwing. Temminck's courser, yes. This is what I think it is. Have a look over here. This courser here. The Temminck's courser. Underparts are mottled and upper parts are mottled. That is exactly what we're seeing. So we saw an adult with a youngster. Temminck's courser, short grass areas in this particular area. It's quite nice. All right. And on that note of all these awesome birds, we're going to send you over to James, who's got himself an update for you. See you later.
Hello everybody, here we are with our piece of dung, but the most interesting thing about, I'm going to talk you through this dung first, but VM found something quite interesting that he's going to show you there. That, everybody, is a hole in the ground, and far from being dug by a burrowing animal, by the extensively pressurized flow of elephant urine as it pounded into the ground there, which I think is, well, slightly amusing, don't you? Right, so I'm lying here in the sun next to a glorious pile of elephant poop, and it's not unpleasant smelling. Let's have a look what he's been eating. He's been eating combretum, not very well digested. You can see there he has not chewed his food particularly impressively there. That's combretum or bush willow. Then he's also been eating, there's a very large piece of stick here, so that's the branches of probably combretum trees. It could also be of knob thorns. This looks like a combretum to me. So they'd have chewed off the bark and the vascular tissue, and on bigger branches, of course, they don't swallow the whole lot, they just take the bark off. So that's there. Then there was something quite interesting here. I think it is. No, that's also combretum. Now, no, it's not. That's what I wanted to show you. Yeah, that's a strychnos leaf. Now, all around us, astoundingly, just precisely not where, oh, there we are. All around us here are a whole lot of these Strychnos madagascarensis bushes, and they're maintained at this height by elephants. They can get into very large trees in some areas, but in areas like this, they tend to be maintained roughly that height by the elephants. Now, I postulate that this drought time that we're having, with so little water around the place, is going to result in the elephants having to eat these more than they would normally, and I wonder if they're not going to create some clearings for us out of these strychnoses. VM is his very worst tree, Strychnos madagascarensis, and they get into the cars and they sort of tear at your clothing, and they're not much fun. So you can the last thing you can see here is that there is almost no grass in this at all. It is all sticks, bits of bark, and some leaves, and that sort of thing. Right, now Jamie is still with her buffalo. We came into this area, we found nothing further from the squealing warthog that we thought we'd seen, so we're going to continue back down towards the south. You go back to Jamie and the buffalo, and we'll catch up with you a bit later.
Oh, still no good news, I'm afraid. I moved backwards slightly so that you would be able to see what I was talking about in terms of the afterbirth from that female. That being said, the older female then promptly came and lay down in it, right behind that female. And you have to wonder what was going through her head when she did that. Maybe it's just pure coincidence. She doesn't really care. Buffalo don't really mind where they plonk themselves down. Neither most animals don't. Or did she lie there to help hide the scent? Did she lie there because she liked the smell of it? I really don't know. It's just an interesting aspect of their behavior that she chose to plonk herself right next to this female. I'm trying to stay really, really optimistic in this situation. Maybe this calf, we'd only just arrived after its birth. Maybe it was born sooner than we realized, and that it's actually even younger than we realized, and that's why Mom is so lackluster. I have a horrible feeling, though, that drought is about to claim potentially 2 more victims. I really hope not, though. Come on, girl. Your head's up now. Beget. You can do it. And calf not even brave enough to go and lie right next to mom. And you can sort of see as you watch the leaves rustling and the grass blowing, there's this really chilly wind blowing in. Not going to help matters at all, although at least the calf's lying quite sheltered, and it does have a little bit of sun to warm it up. We're still hopeful. There's still a couple of hours grace for this little calf, fingers crossed. Buffalo Bull coming to have a good sniff around there as well. Perhaps he might give her a bit of a nudge. A warm welcome to Zena from Illinois, who's watching this sighting with us. Dazina. You were wondering if this is normal maternal behavior, this lack of interest, and the answer is no, it isn't. And we've seen antelope and wildebeest, just after they give birth, they immediately turn around and start licking the baby that they've just given birth to. You got to sort of see a bit of it with James and that live zebra birth, although it got too dark to finish watching that sighting to its conclusion. Now, a buffalo calf is a bit bigger, but so is a buffalo, and she should, in theory, be up and about. Now, there's a couple of possibilities behind why she's still down like this. One is that it was a complicated birth, maybe some kind of breached birth. The calf didn't come out easily in some way. Maybe its legs were twisted, something complicated it, which meant that she had a longer labor process than might be considered normal, which is why she's now exhausted. The other is that it is such a late birth. Usually buffalo births peak is sort of around January to latest May, which is when there's the fresh green grass around for them to eat. Now, she's had to carry this calf for 11 months to full term at a time when there's hardly any food, and it might just have weakened her system to the point that just the laboring process has exhausted her. And sometimes it just happens. Those of you with dogs, horses, cows even, sometimes the mothers just don't bond to their offspring. It's rare, but it does happen. And I'm just hoping that the presence of this bull might stir her into action, but it doesn't really look like it. But it's interesting that the other two haven't moved off. It is windy, so buffalo on these sorts of days do prefer to lie down. But it is interesting that they haven't left her. Little one's now completely used to the oxpeckers, or possibly feeling too weak to chase them off. Oh, they're hopping around on it. Oh, little baby. Come on, Mom. You can do it. You just have to get up and feed your baby and then lie back down again. I've never seen buffalo suckling while they're lying down. I've only ever seen them suckle standing up, because the calf has to stimulate the milk production by headbutting the mother. This is not... Oh, buffalo bull's now lying down. That herding instinct, very, very powerful. Just want to go and move that baby. Just shuffle it closer. Put it under her nose. Remind her that she's got to get up. Very difficult to watch. She's now even losing the energy to shake them off, the oxpeckers off her head and away from her eyes. The mother, that is. Are you going to try get up again, baby? No. Come on, go remind your mom that you're here. We absolutely can't blame the mother in this situation. Yeah, we can't blame the mom. Obviously, there's a reason she can't get up. There's a reason she's so exhausted. And I also wonder if there's not an infection around that broken horn site, because it's broken very, very close to the base of the bone. It's hard to see exactly what's happening there. Now, Patsy, you were wondering, since this female hasn't started suckling, whether or not a buffalo can get milk fever or hypocalcemia. Not as far as I know, no. I do know, I mean, I don't know all that much about A, milk fever, or B, the possibility of it in buffalo. However, I can tell you that you absolutely cannot feed a buffalo calf cow's milk because it's too rich for a buffalo calf. And I just know that through various buffalo breeding programs that I've passed through, not worked at, but been involved with. And I know you can't give a buffalo calf cow's milk because it's got too much calcium, it's too rich, too much protein, and it actually damages them. It makes me think along those lines that most likely no, buffalo in a wild environment don't get milk fever. That being said, I mean, she's producing milk. Well, hopefully she is, depending on the level of resilience that her body is going to show. She doesn't look as though she's in bad condition. I mean, apart from the fact that she's not standing up. What I mean by that is her bones aren't showing. She's not super thin. She's managed to carry a calf through to full term. I'm going to go forward a little bit so we've got a clearer view of the calf, since the other buffalo have obscured the view of the bits that I was hoping to show you. Come on, Wendy. Come on, Wendy. I don't want to stop the car, Wendy. No, or not. Not 1 inch of a reaction from anybody there, really. I almost was hoping that perhaps the engine would stir Mom, but it hasn't at all. Now, Righteous Reptile, speaking about that missing horn of the female, you were wondering what could have broken it off. The answer is lots of different things. And so when buffalo panic and they stampede, they gallop through trees without even really concentrating on dodging them. And I've seen buffalo run full tilt into large trees before. So that might have been what happened. There might have been a genetic disorder that caused a crack or a fault in the buffalo's bone, which then broke off. And of course the horns are solid bone. Might have been another buffalo. Now, females tend not to headbutt each other or to fight, but they do get irritable when somebody else is in their space, as do the bulls. So it might have been impact with another buffalo horn. Either way, it's living bone that breaks off, so I imagine it is an incredibly uncomfortable experience for them. And the oxpeckers often worry away at it. Now, I recently saw a buffalo around Red Dam in Arathusa, just before our Father's Day TV specials, that had a cavity where her horn had broken off that the oxpeckers were climbing right into. And I must say, it's one of the most, for some reason, it's one of the most horrifying sights I've ever seen in the wild. I was just imagining how uncomfortable that must have been. Oh, come on, girl. There's some elephants not too far away from where we are. I've just heard them rumbling in the distance. Probably about 300 or so yards away. And if they enter the scene, it could be a very different story, a very complicated turn of events, as if things weren't bad enough for this little one. Come on, girl. She's not even shaking the oxpeckers off properly. You can see the flies have all gathered around her. Not so much on the little one, which I actually find quite surprising, because it's still covered in the effects of the birth, or the after effects of the birth. And yet the flies don't seem to be bothering it nearly as much. Thank goodness. So for now it's okay. It's breathing. And hopefully just conserving energy until Mom decides to get up. And while we wait with bated breath to see if she will in fact find the strength to get up and feed her baby, let's head back across to Steph and see how his explorations of Cheetah Plains is going.
Welcome back. I'll tell you, it's been so interesting listening to that buffalo story that's unfolding with you. I must say I'm very, very jealous. We've been on these plains now for some time, probably close to 30 or 40 minutes, and watching these processions of animals coming out of the bush all around. So as one herd of animals is leaving, another herd is approaching, and it's just this endless cycle, which is, for me, quite nice. And why I stopped here was we've got a lilac-breasted roller that looks like it has killed a grasshopper off to our left hand side, and we're going to see if we can show it to you. It is in that gap between those two trees. You're going to be zooming in now. Head towards that dead stump there in the middle of the picture. There we go, down a little bit. Somewhere there is a bright purple bird. Although at the moment it's a little bit like finding a needle in a haystack. I can't even see. Wait, let me see if I can find him with my binoculars. Oh, there he flew. We were looking straight at him and he didn't even see him. Anyway, it's through there, Dave. So he's just sitting in a branch, in a gap. A little bit more cross, left, go in, go in. There we go. Zoom straight in there. Go left a little bit. And left a little bit. I think it's there. There we go. Middle of the screen, right at the top. Wait, up a bit. There you go. Got him. He's in the top left-hand corner of your screen. That is a lilac-breasted roller. I tell you, that's probably the longest look for a lilac-breasted roller I've ever had. But there you got him. Oh, what fantastic colors this time of the year. The bush is really drab now, but these birds definitely color it up. They're insectivorous birds. They like to eat insects, but they'll take almost anything. I've even seen them with snakes and mice in their beaks. Very raucous, noisy bird, whose females are, if not laying on eggs at the moment, definitely doing some nesting material.
Buffalo. They've got two incisors that sit in the top of their mouths and are utterly adorable, with a gap in between them. Makes them look terribly cute. It's just leaves, baby. It's just leaves. This is a sighting that's gone from happy to very sad in a very short space of time. A very selfish part of me that just wants to leave, that actually doesn't want to watch this anymore, and that's purely for my benefit. It won't help the calf in any way, it won't help the mother in any way, and at the end of the day we won't know what happens. We've got to stick it out. I think for now, let us head across somewhere a bit more cheerful. Hopefully Steph has got some things to say to bring a smile back to your faces, and hopefully when you return to us we'll have something to bring a smile to yours as well.
Shame. I'm heartfelt for all of you. My sympathies are with you on that particular sighting. Never really an easy thing to see. Some news. We've now driving along the southern boundary of Cheetah Plains, and at least we know now that which direction the lions have gone in. That small pride of lion that came to drink last night at 3 in a row pan, they've moved off across the boundary, as well as a female leopard. Beautiful tracks of a female leopard. Happened literally probably while we were on game drive here this morning. Also just crossed the road, crossed south. Not to worry though, these things happen. It's especially on in an area like this. And the good thing is that, for me at least, there's no fence. You know, it was such a blessing when all those years ago, it was probably now close to 30 years ago, all the fences in this area were taken down and ripped out. And although a fence would never have stopped something like a leopard or a lion or wild dog or even cheetah, they're not nice to look at. It gives me this feeling that, you know, things can go wherever they want and live like they're intended to live, nice and free, relatively speaking. But anyway, they've crossed now out of Cheetah Plains, and that allows us some time to go and explore some other dams. At least we'll know exactly where we're going with that. But what an interesting morning, I must be honest with you. These processions of wild game. Now, a question from Righteous Reptile, as far as I have it coming through there, about whether or not I'd suggest or recommend becoming a game ranger or a field guide. Absolutely. This is for those of you who are out there wanting to be in nature but have a flair for being with people. I definitely say that field guiding is for you. Field guiding is one of those professions where you absolutely have to love people. You can't just be a person wanting to be in the bush and wanting to look at animals all day. You have to have a love for people. I would say that that's probably the prerequisite skill or aptitude to have, is to want to talk to people, want to entertain people, want to be part of their lives and ask questions. That makes a good field guide. After that, just wanting to be outdoors, wanting to be in the bush, wanting to live the lives of these animals that share our home with us, basically, or we share their home with them. Let me put it to you that way. And there are a couple of schools you can do that through. A couple of well-known guiding schools throughout South Africa where you can come and do some basic field guide training, and then it's just getting into the bush and getting practice and exposing yourself. I always say, even to young field guides from South Africa, the best way to become a field guide is to travel, and to travel with groups of people, to travel within Africa. It just expands your knowledge and expands your experience base, and that's what's necessary. So come over to Africa, get yourselves a four-wheel drive car of some description or other, and travel all the national parks, as many as you can do in the time that you have. And then go and get some game ranger training. I must be honest with you, while I'm looking forward to seeing how this drought sort of develops further, it is one of the most incredible journeys that I've been on, to see how the bush is thinning out and how much more apparent it's becoming what no grass cover does. No grass is a big thing, as you're seeing with that buffalo female. It is having a profound effect on the animals around here. But I've just heard that Mr. Henry has got another battery in his backpack and is probably dying to have an update with you. I'm going to send you over to James and we'll catch up in a little bit.
Indeed, we have another battery in the backpack. We have all the wires reattached to themselves. As I said to you, Strychnos madagascarensis, Viam's very west tree, and it detached 2 or 3 wires from the back of the backpack, but luckily Viam's brain is almost the size of that of an elephant's, and so he managed to put everything back together. And we are now stalking some impala and some zebra that have just nipped up over the top. Let's go and look. We're going to go to that termite mound there and see if we can view them from the top there. They were standing very nicely here, and every so often you have to do what's known as a delay test, where Kirsten says clap on 3 and she goes 1, 2, and then as she says 3, I clap. As I did that, the impala and the zebra that were standing right where we are now disappeared at a great speed. That was very distressing to me. Herbert we've left. He's gone to see if he can track a karula, and there is quite a loud squeaking noise coming from the pack. We'll move away from there and then he won't be able to hear it anymore. Alright, there's the zebra. watching us very carefully. And of course, the windiness of the day, there's impala are also there. The windiness of the day and the fact that the wind is blowing straight to them is going to make them doubly nervous. It's an odd breeze this. It's a northeaster, and that means that it's not, I mean, normally it comes either from where I'm pointing now or from the southeast if there's a front coming in. And this wind is coming from behind us there towards the northeast, which is quite strange. Let's go and see how close we can get to them. Now, we've spoken a lot on these walks about the flight distance that animals have. Now, the flight distance, of course, the distance beyond which or within which they are going to run away. And on a windy day, I think that flight distance is increased. Had a wonderful question from a new viewer. I think if I got the name correct, it is quite windy. Volt of Gaming, is that correct? Hello, Volt of Gaming. Clearly not the name your mother gave you. You want to know if zebra are related to horses? Absolutely they are. They are from the same genus. That genus is Equus. And I don't know what a horse's Latin name is. It's probably Equus domesticus. But basically it means that they are as closely related to horses as donkeys and wild asses are. So they're absolutely related to horses. And you can apparently interbreed them every so often, or they can produce offspring. It's highly unlikely that those offspring would be viable, so they'd much more likely be like mules. And apparently some mules are viable, they can have babies, but very, very few of them. And if you create a zorse, you get an infertile offspring. Have you ever seen a zorse, Wiem? Wiem has not seen a zorse, nor have I seen a zorse. See, the impala have decided we're too close, and now so have the zebra. Look at them run, isn't that lovely? That is fantastic. I can watch a horse or a zebra run all day long. Now, Righteous Reptile, you've asked a question about how they find water. Well, Righteous Reptile, pretty much, and this is not facetious, in the same way that you do, and you find reptiles. You find water because you know where it is. You have a memory of it, and it's the same with them. They learn where the water points are. I guess there's an element for some animals of being able to smell out where water is. They can certainly, in areas like the Serengeti, they follow rain clouds. So that, you know, those vast plains of the Serengeti, they'll sort of survey the landscape and watch the weather. And when those storms start to fall, as you've seen, I mean, I'm sure you've seen a storm building and you can see the rain happening where it will, you know, falling. The wildebeest and the zebra will migrate to areas like that, but in an area like this, I think it's largely based on their memory of where the water is. And certainly that's the case with elephants, and it's one of the major functions of the matriarch, or the adults in an elephant herd, and that's to show everybody where the water is. Now, earlier today, we had a whole lot of elephants calling over there, and we're just going to walk along through this area and see if they don't make their way down to the water, which is over there at the Galago Pan, the Vuyatela Pan. Let's go back to that rather distressing story of the buffalo. I hope Jamie's got some good news for you.
I wish I could tell you something different. I do have good news in one sense, and that's Mom is looking a bit perkier. I'm sorry guys, not much has changed, but Mom's head is up and she's ruminating again more sort of consistently, chewing away at the cud. And I'm really hoping that's a good sign. Maybe she just needs a little bit of extra time. Maybe it was a difficult birth and she's tired, but she's going to get up. I really hope that's the case. Come on, girl. That's it. Come on, roll over. Poor little baby just has to wait and conserve its energy. She keeps twitching away from the oxpeckers. Oh, another tentative thought about getting upright. The wind is now howling, blowing leaves straight at us. I've been thinking along very similar lines to Aqua. With little baby antelope, we've seen them before when they're born. They're very vocal. They bleat and they contact call to their mothers. And I've been wondering at the fact that this little calf is so silent. That being said, I've only ever encountered newborn buffalo calves on a handful of occasions, and I've never seen them bleat to their moms straight away. But I do wish it would, because I almost feel like that would be something that would stir the mom into action. It works with other mammals, with antelope, with leopards, with lions. That call of the baby is irresistible to the mother. And I was kind of hoping that perhaps the baby might do that, but it was totally silent. The only time it sort of made the tiniest of sounds was when that buffalo bull hit it with its horns. And there it made a sort of a frightened bleating sound. But Mom at that point didn't even look up. In fact, so much so that we didn't realize initially that which female was the actual mother of this calf. It's definitely her, though. She's popped her head back down, and every time she does that, my heart sinks a little bit lower. Maybe she just needs some rest. Maybe she just needs some time to recover. Unfortunately, she doesn't really have the time, because especially on a day like today, cool weather with wind blowing, it's the perfect time for predators to be out and about. A leopard will hunt at any time of the day, and will definitely be brave enough to take on a calf of this age. The one thing that comforts me in this is Mom is not alone. The cohort of buffalo, the buffalo bull and the buffalo female, they would protect the calf from a predator if a predator did start to enter into the scene, or at least they would try to. It's the one thing that buffalo are very good at. There's a utilitarian nature to all, or aspect to all of the animals out here, but a buffalo will try and defend a calf regardless of whether or not it is their own. But Mom doesn't really have time. She's got to get up and feed this calf. There's still a few hours to go. These little things are resilient, but for us this is absolutely heartbreak. This is definitely not what I was looking forward to seeing on my first day back. While we watch one of our biggest animals play out a story that's been playing out for many, many years, let's go across to James, who's got a little mini ecosystem for you.
So one of the things I bang on about a whole lot is the fact that every little piece of land that you find here is a special little ecosystem all on its own. And this termite mound is no different. Is it, Viam? No. Come over here. And show everybody. Let me take the glory quickly for the thing that you spotted. There's a little cricket there that Viam found. See there? He's in the same place. And he's got those two strange things coming out of his bottom, and those are most likely modified ovipositors or egg-laying instruments. And I think also, much like that grasshopper we saw earlier, this is probably a young one. Now the crickets and the grasshoppers don't go through what we call a larval stage. They don't have a hollow metabolic life cycle, so they're not like that ground beetle larva that we saw, that big sort of ugly worm. And they are born looking much the same as the adults, just smaller and without the same wings. And they go through about 7 or 8 what we call instars, which are different versions of adults, and eventually they become the adults. It's very difficult to tell unless you're a particular expert in whatever species that happens to be what instar they're in. Now, also over here, and this is what I really love to find, it's a whole lot of ants that are on the edge of something called Bothria cloa insculpta. That's this kind of grass. And they've found one of the very last pieces of greenery there is. I don't know why this one should be particularly green, save to say that perhaps the termites in this mound are a little bit more efficient at bringing water to the surface of their mound and lining, I mean that's how they air condition it, they line the tunnels that they make with water. So maybe that's what's going on here, and certainly there's a real coolth that's coming off this termite mound. Anyway, this grass is the last bit of greenery. It's a lovely name, Bothria cloa insculpta. It's not very good grazing grass, but the ants have managed to find the sweetness of the inflorescence. And there will be some form of nectar on there, there'll be pollen that they can probably eat, and probably, goodness knows, a huge number of other things. There seems to be also, the old bones there, I don't know, they're building, are these aphids, Vyampi? Did you see these other things here?
Oh, on the bottom?
Yeah, look at those. No, those are not ants. I think those are aphids. And I think these ants are milking the aphids. That's exactly what's going on here. That's very interesting. Those are aphids. And it's either the ants or the aphids that do the milking. I forget which one. I'm pretty sure it's the ants. But there'll be some kind of mutual relationship here, beyond which they won't be able to survive. Isn't it amazing? Tiny little black aphids. Now, if we go on to, sorry, I'm going to make this a little bit difficult. Just see there, Vim, can you see who's eating who or who's milking whom?
Let me just get into your position.
Because I can't see from where I'm sitting. We're almost using the camera as a microscope here.
Oh, that's too much.
Too much?
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no, I can only see.
No, we can't really see. Anyway, that's the case there. And that's called Bothria cloa in sculpta. Quite a nice name. Tastes a bit like termites. Not termites, turpentine. Okay, that's going to be it from us. Sorry about our slightly truncated walk today, but that is the way of things when we are sending in high-definition signal to you live from the midst of the Kruger National Park. We're going to head back to the camp now and scoff ourselves some food. And remember, 11 o'clock to 11:45, we're doing a drive for a school, so if you want to join us in the middle of the day, come along and have a look-see. Until then, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Bye-bye.
Welcome back with us, and I'm heading off to this big tree over here. I got a funny feeling it's a fig tree, and I want to see if there's any figs in it. Fig trees, they can produce fruit all year round, and in a time like this, you want a tree that produces fruit, and quite often you can find that are hidden inside there. Mainly what I'm looking for now is a green pigeon. So I'm hoping that there'll be some figs, A. Secondly, I'm hoping that there'll be some green pigeons feeding on the figs. I feel like seeing a green bird today. And that's what we're going to look at. Alright. Here we have it. It is a fig tree. Nice. The Ficus thaningii, or the common wild fig. Let's have a look at this guy. Wow, what a fantastic tree. Let me turn around so that I can give you an absolute fantastic view of it. Gee whiz. And I'll share it with you right away. Have a look at that. Now, as some of you would know, I enjoy old massive trees, and this is probably one of the biggest common wild figs that I know. You have an idea, the tree on the left hand side is a marula tree, and a fairly sizable marula tree. To give you some comparison, I don't see any figs unfortunately on it. Not carrying many at all in actual fact, but nevertheless it gives us a good idea to have a look. Those are aerial roots that you're having a look at over there. When the tree was a little bit younger, it would have sent out roots. And those roots have been eaten off by elephant. So elephant have come and stood underneath the tree. What you're looking at there is about the height that an elephant's mouth can reach. Without the use of its trunk, that's the level of an elephant's mouth. Isn't that just wonderful? A real old man of a tree. One of my favorites. The common wild fig, or the Ficus thaningii. And on that note, I'm going to be saying goodbye for myself and Dave. And thank you for joining us at least today on my exploration trip of Cheetah Plains. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been very nice, and the help of Dave to keep me out of where we're not supposed to be driving. Thank you for all your questions. Thank you for all your support. We will see you again at 11 o'clock for that little special that we're going to be doing. Have a nice morning for the rest of it. Cheers.
Well, as Steph has explained, we will be seeing you in just a few hours' time for our special reappearance. And the first thing I can guarantee that I will do is come back and check on the situation. I can't stay, unfortunately. I've got responsibilities back at camp, so I can't stay and watch how this situation plays out. Although I would on one hand, I would really like to, on the other hand, I wouldn't. I have to be honest, I'm not feeling particularly happy at the end of this sunrise safari. I don't think you all are at home either. This has been incredibly difficult to sit and watch. But at the end of the day, that is what we do. We bring you the truest and rawest reflection of nature without editing or sugarcoating. And sometimes you just have to take the good with the bad, or the bad with the good in this case. And we did set out, hopefully, looking for leopard cubs, and unfortunately we stumbled across this painfully heartbreaking scene. But I'm hopeful. I'm still going to hold on to that little bit of hope that I'm going to come back here at 11, and Mom and Calf will be up and about, Calf feeding and scampering and doing all the things that little baby buffalo should be doing just after birth. That miraculous ability of these animals to stand up and wander about so soon after entering the world. I'm glad she's not alone as well. I'm glad that when we leave her, she's actually got the company of other buffalo with her. And on the subject of her entourage, Corrine, you were wondering whether or not the other buffalo are staying with her intentionally. I'm not sure. They got up and moved, and then they came back and they lay down next to her. It's up to you to interpret that how you will. I can't give you an exact answer. My suspicion is yes. They are here and they are keeping her company intentionally. That is what I think is going on. I think that herding instinct is strong. Whether or not they know that she is vulnerable or threatened, I'm not sure. They probably do, though. They're probably more aware of what's going on in their day-to-day life than perhaps we would necessarily give them credit for. But yes, I think that they are staying with her, and I'm glad that they are. On this windy day, they're not going to move too far away in the brief period while we are off air. So we will be able to return and find out what happens. So we'll all keep our fingers crossed. We'll keep this little buffalo girl in our thoughts. And hopefully we will be returning to a much happier scene in just a little while. Good luck, little one. And Mom, good luck to you as well. I really hope you both pull through. We'll keep you updated, I promise. We'll tell you exactly what happens. But unfortunately, we have come now to the end of our sunrise safari, and it's time for us to shut down for the morning. And thank you to Brian for sticking with me and keeping us company in this rather miserable situation. It's very upsetting. And thank you to the lovely ladies in Final Control for doing all that they do. And most importantly, thank you to all of you for sticking with us. Keep safe and keep well, and we'll catch up with you in a couple of hours. Bye-bye, everyone.